colonialism and the othering process. And all the papers, I think, really ask us to think about what's at stake in all of this, in the representations, in the legislation, in the different kinds of regulation that both kind of represent, and that all of the issues, whether it's abortion or whether it's how how the Hottentot Venus is represented around the world, right? All deal with issues about gender, about how the family should be constructed, issues about women and domesticity, and kind of normative relations in all of those realms. So really that's all I have to say. And maybe that'll give you some grounds for framing questions, because we do have 20 minutes left, and I think it would be great if you all would like to ask the panelists questions, or if you have general comments that these papers have sparked you to think about that you want to raise. Now is your chance.
I have a question for Amy. Could you talk about a little bit more about the images that you showed? Where did they come from? Were they from books, or were they just illustrations from people who were actually in Africa, or
they
just
were
information transmitted back to Europe?
They were all French, and she went from South Africa to England. She stayed there for a few years, and then moved to Paris. And I think she was a bigger hit in Paris than she was in England. But they were all from French newspapers, so they were something that would be pretty accessible. And it's really hard to get a straight answer, kind of. Some say that she's a prostitute. Some say that she could literally be bought, and others say they think she never allowed herself to be depicted, even in the way that she was depicted in the pictures. She was always she made herself be covered. But it's I couldn't include this in the paper, but it's kind of when she died, instead of preserving her body, they stuffed her like a wooden animal. Yeah. And she was on display for years, and she was only just returned to South Africa like 5 or 10 years ago, and formally buried. So, they did something that they do with an animal on her, and it suggests that they thought she was much less than human. I don't know if that answered your question, but I hope it kind of helped.
Yeah, it did. And it also suggests that she was so important, right, in her marginality, right, that they wanted to preserve her so that she could continue to be gazed upon, or preserve her for science or whatever proof of the formulations they figured out around her.
But if you Google Sarah Bartman, you get literal pictures of her, and it's like they're not very nice. It's degrading.
The whole subject is very nice.
No, no, it really isn't.
Any questions, comments?
So you said it very well, and you alluded to it very well. I don't know if you exactly blatantly said it, but how it was basically, it was only illegal if you got caught.
It was, okay.
Well, of course, a profuse amount of information on how to do it through not doing it. And I'm just thinking that how long, like this 18th century, you don't have a whole lot of sources. Like you obviously said, it's like, so even going further back, it would be in a really tough spot on that information. But it seems like there's been a cultural disconnect to their religious beliefs in that sense, to where they would have this looking to the side while it was happening over here, and only when blood or death actually spilled across the line that they would pay attention to it.
It did seem that way. I said in the beginning that it was considered only illegal after the quickening, which I find similar to the partial birth abortions. And then I, like you said, it seems that everybody did look the other way. I mean, it seems that it was a pretty commonplace thing. Women within a community knew what they could do if they wanted to get rid of it.